you?
You were going to be here.
Well, I'm not here.
Of course
You're not here.
Somewhere else.
Is this a hologram of you?
Yes, it is a hologram. No, I'm on location. And I just so happen, it says, go onto Zoom, and I'm onto Zoom. But I'm going to have to go in a minute because I'm filming a wonderful series up in BBC Scotland. I've sent you a little bit of footage of me, getting on there this morning. But I just wanted to say hi because I'm so nosy and I miss you all, guys. So I will be back next week. But I love you.
Love you too, darling.
It won't be the same without you, Debbie.
I miss you, Nat, miss you, Dee, but I'm doing something else. I don't know if you can see. Not really, is it? It's nothing to see, really. It's just
we are seeing blur. You're somewhere in
a blur.
Blurry that you're doing.
Yes, just that there are.
Yes, there was a band called Blur, wasn't there?
Yes, a bit of a blur. But anyway,
bit of a blur.
Lovely to see you guys.
Lovely, darling. See you soon.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Goodness me. Oh, I do miss her.
Yes.
So she's doing this telly series. Wonderbirds is so lucky for everyone. There's Harriet going off to do EastEnders, Sherry doing something amazing as usual, me going off to do gigs, and you two now. Well, you're both doing amazing things anyway. And but don't leave yet, will you?
We'll try not to. I'm probably just going off to the supermarket, frankly.
That's all right, darling. Tesco's. I go to Tesco's. Do you?
Oh yes, of course.
I do Aldi, actually. I cook the dinner from Aldi.
Aldi's brilliant, isn't it? Aldi's little, actually, if I can get to them. It's just there's a big Tesco's literally down the road from here. Otherwise, Aldi is amazing. Yeah. And so is Lidl. I remember about, oh gosh, I won't say how many years ago, before I was born, really. My husband at the time discovered Lidl near the Elephant and Castle where we lived in South London. And he used to come home and get all these bargains. And he'd say to me, do you know how much that cost? That was 2p. Do you know? And I used to think, oh my God, I can't bear it. But actually, then I got into it and we became the sort of little bores.
I love Lidl. It's a little bit out of the way, so I have to make an effort to go there. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, my husband loves it because it's the bargains. He gets excited and obsessed, so I don't have to do the shopping. So that's
do you have to cook for 9 people all the time, or do they all take turns?
Yeah, but now they're not home all the time. I only have 2 home continually, well, 3 of them including Stuart. But when they're all home, yes, it's 9 every day.
Oh, that's exciting. We've booked a surprise at the Albert Hall in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I know. I think we have to. Debbie and I will have to come as well, darling.
Yes,
don't you?
Do it. Definitely. I think the ticket when we booked, it was nearly sold out already.
It's sold out, so maybe there'll be some no-shows or something.
Gosh, that's amazing. Oh, Caddy, you're amazing. So who have we got on the show today?
Mr. Wonderful himself, Legs Larry Smith. Woo!
Ding, ding. Hello.
Hey,
hello.
How are you?
All 3 of you at once. How wonderful. How fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Wonderful himself.
Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's you.
Absolutely. Well, the album's called Mr. Wonderful, and it's a character that I play on stage, this dreadful American, sincerely yours. Do you remember in the 60s, they'd come over from Vegas and they'd all say at the Palladium, it's a real pleasure being back in your country, and I love your wonderful policeman. Do you remember? He used to say that, and it was so obviously so flat and so
fake
that I developed this character on stage that has a dreadful wife in Palm Springs, and it just goes on, and I've got a recording studio, and I'm wonderful, and it just goes crazy. But it's a good character to have fun with,
Oh, Larry, you are wonderful. What a life you've had. What a varied career you've had. Incredible.
I know. I've just done the old memoirs, and I was thinking as I was changing into this rather wonderful shirt this morning, I was just thinking about the day I met it's unbelievable. It was my day of days, I've called it in my memoirs, where I was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel with Elton. I was doing a tour with Elton, and he came over all excited just around lunchtime and said, Larry, I've got a surprise for you. And I thought, great, because it could have meant anything. So he dragged me off to this little private dining room, and there was Groucho Marx. It was
Wow.
unbelievable. And sat next to him was Jack Nicholson with his shades on.
Oh,
Wow.
And I was wearing a teddy bear suit made out of fun fur, and it was probably 100 degrees outside, you know, and here I am walking around in an air-conditioned Beverly Hills hotel. But Jack Nicholson couldn't work me out. And Groucho said, Elton said, this is our tap dancer, Legs Larry. And Groucho said, tap dancer? Nobody tap dances anymore. Anyway, he gave me his hand, and it was huge and warm and crinkly. And we shook hands, and I did a little dance for him. And then we
in the teddy bear suit.
I'm sorry?
In the teddy bear suit.
In a teddy bear suit, yeah, like a leisure wear suit, but teddy bear stuff. And so I went off to have a beer or something, and then he came over at 3 o'clock and said, "This is Elton. I have another surprise for you." I said, "Whoopee, whoopee!" And he said, "We're having tea with Mae West." This is the same day, right? This is just after lunch. So we arrive at Mae West's place, and she owns the whole apartment block. But we go in, and we're not allowed to smoke. The cigars are sort of stubbed out in the ashtray outside. And an Oriental butler in white tie and tails goes us into this room, which is white, a white grand piano, white thick shag carpet, white orchids, chandeliers. The whole damn thing is covered in white silk and organza, and it's just wonderful. And a big couch, and we're all as nervous as hell. So it's Elton, me, John, his guy, his partner, and I had a young actor with me who was in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is a kind of cult thing that is a fabulous film. Anyway,
Yes.
after 10 minutes, Chan came back, the butler, and said, "Gentlemen, Miss West." And she came out looking as she did in Myra Breckenridge, with a ball gown on, her hair almost touching the ceiling, eyelashes you could rest your ciggies on. They were so big and huge. And she was just enchanting. And she looked at all the guys and said, wall-to-wall men. I love it.
Oh, what a story.
Larry, come and sit next to me. And I did, obviously. So I sat next to her on the sofa, and we drank champagne, and she was fascinating, a real smart woman, because she started talking, I mean, God, she was born the same time as Jesus. She started talking about burlesque in the 20s, and how her Mexican dresser got her into ESP. And anyway, we talked about this, and we talked about that. And then the manager rang up and said, "Guys, you've got to leave." And I thought, no. And then we got on a plane and went to San Francisco, where I tap danced in front of 20,000 people that same day. It was a hell of a day. I guess it's my day of days.
Yes.
It was pretty fab.
Oh, that is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Where did this all begin? I read that you came from Oxfordshire originally, which is where I came from. I lived in a place called Radcott, which had 4 houses and a pub about 17 miles west of Oxford, near Clanfield. Bampton. But for you, how did it all start? Because you were born in that area. How did you end up on the path to everything that you've done?
I had a terrible education. I got rheumatic fever when I was 9.5. And so I missed all my schooling. There was no schooling in hospital, but thank the Lord, we had a great art master at my secondary school called Graham Miller, and he saw something in my art. And anyway, he took us to London for the day. We went to the Tate, we saw Picasso painting with the camera on an art house film at the Curzon. And because of the art, Oxford was pretty awful as an art school. Sorry, Oxford, but I thought, I've got to go to London. That's where it's happening. So I went to London, and there I met Vivian Stanshall, who was the singer in the Bonzos. So I'd sort of said goodbye to art in some ways. Although I did go to New York in '64 when the Beatles were, just arriving, because I thought I was going to work in an advertising agency. And I got the offer of a job when I finished college, come back, Larry, blah, blah, blah. But Bonzo was just starting. So it was art school, and everybody went to art school. Not everybody, obviously, but art school was a kind of finishing school for
Yes.
creative minds in the '60s. And London then, in that period, was just so happening. I mean, everything was changing. It was a renaissance of fashion, architecture, music, the fashion, the whole lot. It was a fabulous time to explore and learn and
Yes.
create.
What a fortunate meeting, the two of you. And
Yes.
then,
We
so did you start Bonzo together, or was it
No,
always?
it was ticking along before I came along, because I was still thinking of going back to New York. But I'd heard rumors about the red-haired dandified beast downstairs in the art department, and I was upstairs in graphics. But we finally met. We checked each other out. We were crossing the road, and which sounds a bit sort of provincial, but we were crossing the road, and there was a hell of a wind, and we were leaning forward like clippers, like masts on a clipper. I started to walk out in front of traffic, and I grabbed him and pulled him back, and we looked at each other, and he said, "Do you fancy a pint?" So I said, "Yeah, let's go and meet each other. Let's introduce ourselves." And then we were tight as a tick from all the way through. Bonzo.
It's
Wonderful
extraordinary.
guy.
Caddy, I've got to tell you, Larry, that Caddy, her 7 children are classical musicians, and they all tour together. And her son actually played at Harry and Meghan's wedding, the cellist at Harry and Meghan, and Caddy's also classical musician with her husband. And it's like, touring, you've got a lot in common with your touring. Caddy, you were going to ask Larry a question, weren't you, about that?
It's so fascinating, because with your music, you've actually managed to put together humor and music at the same time. And I was looking at all your singles on Spotify. And what I'm fascinated by is no matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. So have you always done kind of political satire? And also that's interesting music. It's almost, is it a reggae beat on that as well? So you're putting together a lot of different genres, and it's hilarious.
Well,
so
thank you. That's very kind. When we started out, we were doing music from the 20s and 30s, and we'd find these old 78 records at a market, and we'd do cover versions of them. And then as the 60s went on, we were dressing in these old kind of 3-piece suits and spats and hats and fedoras, and I was dressing like Scott Fitzgerald, who was my idol. And then I thought one day, hang on, Viv and I were going to see Elvis movies in the afternoon, and the Beach Boys. I said to the guys one day at rehearsal, no more 20s stuff. For Christ's sake, let's start playing some rock and roll. Let's start parodying what's happening today rather than all that, which is fun. Those songs are great, but we'd had enough. Well, I'd had enough. And so the whole band, I remember our manager, who came from Essex and managed Katie, said, "Larry, if you want to join a rock and roll band, go and join a rock and roll band." And they all the band thought, "What? No, we can't. No." Anyway, they saw the light, and we kicked out our drummer, which was terribly sad, and we kicked out our banjo player and replaced him with a bass player, and I took on the drums, and we went electric. But music, we've always explored various types of music. And to answer your question, comedy, I tell you, in whatever medium, comedy is the hardest thing to do, and it's the thing you get the least respect for.
Mm-hmm.
It really, really is. You have to be really on top of your game to.
Oh, everybody loved the Bonzo Dog Band. Everybody.
Oh yeah,
Well,
legendary.
Oh.
Thank you, ladies. I was at a party in town on Saturday, and I sort of waltzed into the garden, and when they realize just how wonderful I am, there's so much love for the band. You know,
Oh, yeah.
There
if you
is.
know the band, you love the band. I mean, do you
Yeah.
remember Do Not Adjust Your Set, that TV show?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
such fun. I mean, you know, we should have had a TV series ourselves, but we were kind of, nobody could pigeonhole us. When we went to America, we did 2 great tours of America, but you have to be in a certain genre. They said, what are these guys like? Are they comedy? Are they rock? Are they middle of the, you know, we were a bit of everything, as you just said. And so we never really,
I know what
For the Monty Python of pop. You would just,
yeah, the guys
Yeah.
were, Do Not Adjust Your Set, were all the Pythons there. There was Eric, you know, and Michael Palin. We all got on as great friends, and they went on to form Python.
yeah.
Absolutely. And George Harrison was one of your closest friends, wasn't he?
George was a delight. In fact, my new album, Mr. Wonderful, he wrote a song about me on one of his albums, Extra Texture. His name is Legs, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm singing in the middle 8. So Okie Okie, which is the first track on my solo album, is my song for him, my return serve. Kyoki being George in Hawaiian. Is the name for George in Hawaii, where we used to go quite a bit and hang out. And Hawaii is a lovely place, by the way.
It is lovely. And I love the title of so many of your songs. I mean, All Artists Are Bums, I thought was great. You know, as we're all artists.
That again, you know, not so much the comedy, but artists these days have so little respect, you know. I mean, don't get me going about the royalties, but the royalties one gets on Spotify and Apple, it's just obscene. People live on it, you know. It's got to be sorted. And I think there's some MPs are sort of fiddling about with an idea of approaching these download people and saying, come on, fair, you know. 10% would be nice, but we're getting a percentage of 1%, which, you know, I had some royalties the other week, a royalty statement from my music publisher, and these songs, I mean, admittedly not thousands of downloads, but Brazil, China, Russia, all through Europe, and my wonderful fee, the royalty was 79 pence.
Oh, God,
I mean,
Terrible.
really
bad.
You can't even post a letter for 79
No.
pence.
It seems that bands now, Larry, are actually making money from merchandise and touring. But I mean, it's totally the opposite now, isn't it?
That's the way I'm going to go. We did a show in London a couple of months ago for Vivian, which was a sellout at a super gig called the Union Chapel. And because of the album, some guy has contacted me who's the head of music at Colorado University. He's invited me over there next March to be wonderful for a week and do a bit of recording and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking of getting a little act together. I just met a super girl singer at the weekend called Saskia. And anyway, that might happen. But to get a little act together and start touring, because as you say, that's a good way of earning a living, you know.
Merchandise, good idea. You could have little Larry Smith Barbies for sale and
great.
little hats and t-shirts, the lot.
Well, with my album, you get these lovely art cards. That's what I done. If you buy the album, you get 8. There they are. Yeah. Super. Yeah.
They're absolutely stunning. I love them.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
I'm a serious painter too. When I've got every day, I have to go to my studio and jump into Adobe Photoshop and create an artwork. And I am, dare I say, going to make a pitch to the Tate Gallery. I'm going to knock on their door and say, look, I'm going to make a film of about 10 minutes with a kind of pop-up of all my artwork with some madness thrown in the middle, because all my work has a trace of humor running through it. And I'm going to say, look, here I am, let me in. And
I'm
Sean was
wonderful.
saying,
I am.
hey, you know, you're going to do it. So
That is
Well,
amazing. And
I see
sorry,
where the
Paddy.
art comes from. Yeah, I see where the art comes from, but I can't work out the tap dancing. You're trained at art school, but where did the tap dancing come from?
well, there was a film school at the Central, and I saw a film one night, The Rise and Fall of Legs Diamond. I also nicked the name Legs from this guy. He was a gangster, 30s mobster, and he would mow down half a dozen guys and then go off dancing. And although he wasn't tap dancing, he was I thought, Legs Larry, that kind of sounds good. And then I suddenly thought, let's try and get some tap shoes, you know. And I went to a lesson in Notting Hill Gate, and the guy, would you believe, the teacher was called Mr. Clackett. It had to be Clackett for tap.
Funny.
And I didn't go again because it was just hopping about. And I guess I learned by doing it every damn night with the Bonzos. But I tap danced at Carnegie Hall with Elton, and I tap danced all across America with Eric Clapton. And with, you know, tap dancing is only drumming with your feet, if you think about it. You know,
Yes.
and with Elton, it was a Bodo-Dio-Do kind of thing, but with Eric, I did a kind of rock and roll tap dance. And the Tom Dowd, who was producing him, fed it through the PA system, and it sounded, you know, with a little effect, it probably made it a bit better. But anyway, it sounded fantastic. And now there are all these guys, what do they call the stompers that are doing? Do you know those guys that stomp?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but tapping is great. It's a release of energy, and it's kind of healthy, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. It is a sort of like a meditation, but more overt.
So how did you three get started? Was it, whose idea was it to start doing this great show? I mean.
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, actually, Debbie Arnold, who isn't here today, who sends her love, but she really wanted to talk to you. But Debbie Arnold and I, it was Debbie's idea, and Debbie Arnold and I produce it with Sherry Hewson. I don't know if you know Sherry, and Harriet Thorpe, who's now in EastEnders. So, and then of course, Caddy and Nat are great friends of ours as well. So we are now the Wonderbirds. We have people like Debbie McGee, Linda Lusardi, and a lot of people who actually come in and present. But like yourself, we've had some fantastic guests. And I have to say, Larry, you said about respect. Well, we completely respect you and are in awe, and we think you're amazing. So, you know, and it's just so fabulous to have you on. And we'd love you to come back, especially when Debbie's here.
I've just finished Dracula, the musical, and I'm just about to present that to a couple of producers in town.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd love to come back later and tell you how we're doing, you know.
Or yes,
the musical sounds wonderful.
It sounds amazing.
It's fun, it's erotic, it's a bit sensual, it's pantomime, it's just so amazing. He said modestly. Well, Mr. Wonderful, you know, what else can I say?
Well, I bet it is wonderful, Mr. Wonderful, if it's written by you. Absolutely fantastic.
It's kind of different. It's original. I'm happy with it anyway.
Wow.
Then Dracula, and it's really incredible. It's really revolutionary. It's written quite early on, but it's extraordinary. So I would definitely watch that musical.
Definitely.
It's an amazing concept, isn't it? Of somebody that seduces somebody and then kills them, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sensual, it's erotic, and yet it's scary.
Yes, it's very scary.
Oh, Larry, I actually, your manager, John Kaufman, used to be my manager and will be again. And isn't he brilliant?
He's got a heart of gold. He's a wonderful chap. Wonderful.
He really is. And he adores you, obviously. And we should all meet up.
Please, God, let's do that. And
let's do that.
I've just discovered some T-shirts, which I'll send you, which we did a charity thing at the Windsor Polo Club, and we got all these T-shirts printed 30 years ago, and we've just discovered them. They're in little packets, little like new, and I thought I could give a couple of those as presents because they're pretty fab. They look brand new. They are brand new. Nobody's opened them. That would
Yes.
be kind of good if that's acceptable.
Great stuff. And maybe will you sign them?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Sign them, and maybe I'll find an art print too.
Yes, please.
I've
Oh,
got
that would be
a
marvellous.
print I did of the Beatles, which I did in Canada, and it's I will donate that with pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Larry. And thank you so much for coming on. And please come back again soon.
Oh, thank you, ladies. Have fun. Happy
Thank
days.
you.
Oh, lovely to meet you.
And you too.
Bye, Larry. Bye. Bye. Oh, isn't he wonderful, Mr. Wonderful?
One of the first,
Absolutely delightful.
yes, it's one of the rare times we get asked a question back. I was a bit
Isn't
thrown.
it?
Actually. That was very
Yeah.
nice.
Wasn't it? It
He-
is lovely, actually.
But he's so funny. He's so much fun. And those
Yeah.
stories, all
Yes.
those people he's worked
I
with.
know. Legends,
And
and he's a kind of legend in himself, isn't he?
Oh,
And yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely amazing. Oh, I loved him. I really did. I'm going to phone John because John Kaufman literally used to manage me, and we're just about to do that again, you know, with all my gigs and stuff. So and he spoke so highly of Larry, and I thought, you know, his music is so good as well. But more than that, it's interesting stories. Fabulous.
absolutely. And continually doing different things. I mean, he was talking about
Yes.
his Dracula, the musical,
Yes.
and the art, which he continues to do, and then working on acts to take to New York. It's just continuous. But I think if
Wonderful.
you're a creative person, you can't put any of that to sleep. You have to keep working
Yeah.
at things. It's
You're
great.
so right, Nat. Because I remember talking to somebody who said to me, if you don't acknowledge the creative side, your creative side, you get very unhappy and depressed. And I think that's true.
Oh yes,
You have
the story
to.
told about the check for 79p. My husband's an actor. I'm an actress too, so we used to have competitions when we would open when these checks used to arrive. Now they just come and they're on your statement, but we'd go, okay, what have you got? And it would be, I think the smallest one he ever got was for 24p, which we put in a frame, put in the downstairs loo. But yeah, you get these ridiculous. You think the stamp costs twice as much as that. Why
Yes.
bothered?
I know. But anyway, darlings, it's been such a great show, and so lovely to see you guys.
But
So
we've
see
missed
you.
Debbie. We've missed
I
Debbie.
I've missed Debbie.
Yeah,
have.
absolutely. Anyway, we're back on Friday, and we have got a lovely guest, Nick Edwards. See you then.
Looking forward.
Look forward to that.
guys.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.